today in what is said to be a pivotal federal election. Will Mark Carney clinch a renewed mandate for liberals, or conservatives will usher into a new era under Pierre Poilievre? Canadians will decide today. Ending a more than a month-long political campaign, both Carney and his competitor made a final pitch to the voters. Carney stuck to his anti-Trump message, stressing that Canada is not America, while Poilievre reiterated his promise of change.
Our old relationship with the United States is over.
Thank you very much. Who's voting for...
In a post on Truth Social, Donald Trump also made an appeal to Canadian voters. The U.S. president said that they should elect a man who cuts taxes and strengthens military and work for zero tariff trade between the United States and Canada. He also listed the advantages of Canada becoming America's 51st state. As Canadians head to the ballot, let's take a look at what are the issues that matter most to the voters. Well, according to the recent poll conducted by a Canada-based research organization, cost of living tops the agenda for 72% of Canadians. This is followed by U.S. President's tariff onslaught on Canada, with 49% listed as one of their top three issues. Issues like healthcare, economy, and housing affordability feature as most important issue for 39%, 32%, and 30% of respondents, respectively. Liberals, headed by Mark Carney, are looking for a fourth consecutive mandate from Canadians. An economist by profession, Carney has served as the governor of Bank of Canada and head of Bank of England before turning into a political career. Carney succeeded Justin Trudeau after the latter stepped down amid growing criticism. Mark Carney is contesting elections for the first time. Next up is Pierre Poilievre, who aims to end long-standing liberal rule to lead a conservative comeback. He is the leader of the opposition and head of the Conservative Party. He rose in popularity during Justin Trudeau's tenure, but in the last 2 months, Carney has surged ahead. Poilievre is a seasoned politician contesting for Canada's top job for the first time. There is also a third candidate in the fray, New Democratic Party leader Jagmeet Singh. Singh is the first ethnic minority politician to head a party. With a background in law, he served as a provincial Ontario legislator before joining the NDP. Jagmeet Singh's party had lent support to Justin Trudeau's Liberal government, but withdrew support late last year over differences in opinion. Record number of Canadians have already cast their mandates and ballot in early voting window, 25% of registered voters. That amounts to 7 million people who voted in early polls. Preliminary results will be coming out as the first polls close in the country. Counting is expected to begin at 7 p.m. local time, that is 11 p.m. GMT. In Canada, poll closing time varies across different provinces, voting stations in British Columbia and Yukon to be the last to close around 10 p.m. local time. All right, for more on this and helping us make sense of what's happening in Canada, we are joined by Terry Malowski, who is a journalist and author from Ottawa. Terry, thank you so much for joining us on WION. I guess the question many are asking here in the United States and possibly in Canada as well is how important of a factor is President Trump in these elections, and are Canadians concerned about President Trump?
Well, thank you for the invitation. I think it's understating it to say that Canadians are concerned. They're outraged, really, by what Mr. Trump has done in insulting and mocking the previous Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, as the so-called governor of the 51st state, and threatening Canada's very existence, not just its economy, which it's already threatening seriously by imposing tariffs on steel and aluminum and lumber and potash and oil and so on. This would have a devastating effect on the Canadian economy. And of course, annexation is the weapon still being wielded by President Trump. So to say that Canadian voters are concerned about this really is putting it mildly. They've been extremely angry about this across party lines, to the point that people all over Canada have been boycotting American goods, scrapping their plans to take vacations in the United States, and finding every way they can to protest and object to President Trump's plans. So I think that Trump is the crucial factor. Remember that before Trump entered the fray with his tariff war, that the Liberals were toast. They were finished. We were all us pundits. We were all writing the Liberals off with good reason, because they were 20 and more points behind. They were, at one point, they were 27 points behind. The election was over. The Liberals were finished. Well, then enter Trump. He makes his threats against Canada. He begins his tariff war, Canada being its largest trading partner, of course. And look at what you've got. Those polls completely changed. Now the Liberals are allegedly, according to most of the polls, but say between 3 and 5 points ahead, which doesn't sound like very much, but because of the mechanics of Canadian elections, it often happens. I've been covering them for 50 years. It often happens that the Conservatives tend to stack up big majorities to win a few seats, and they win a big majority in all of those seats in the prairies, for example, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. But the Liberals' support is more evenly distributed, so they win more seats for the same amount of votes, if you see what I mean. And add to that the fact that this morning already we're seeing a very strong turnout at the polls in eastern Canada. We're on track for a record advanced poll nationally. It's been possible to, here's my voting card. I've been able to vote for a week already. And the numbers of voters reflects, of course, the strength of feeling that I've described a moment ago. And I think what that means is that this strength of feeling has been conveyed to the polls. It's not just an inchoate general feeling that we don't like the Americans. No, it's specifically targeted at Mr. Trump and his program. And it's showing up at the polls, which is a good sign for the Liberals.
All right. Thank you so much for all of that, Mr. Terry Milowski. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Joining me right now is Harrison Faulkner, who is our reporter on the ground in Toronto. Harrison, great to see you. What is the mood on the ground?
Well, the mood is very exciting. This election, it might be a bit cliche, but this election really is consequential. And you can see that in the advanced polling numbers. You can see that at polling stations like the one I'm standing at here today in downtown Toronto, the riding of St. Paul's, and polling stations around the country. This election is remarkable for many reasons, but the most obvious being the fact that the Conservatives have managed to blow a 25-point lead that they had carrying into this election just 3.5 months ago. The 338 Canada, a polling aggregator firm, put the chance of the Conservatives forming the most seats in government at the end of this election at greater than 99%. Well, right now we are seeing that 1% chance unfold in real time. We are seeing a real likelihood of the Liberals forming a government. It could be a majority government, but the polls are indicating that it will at least be a minority government. Where I'm standing, Toronto St. Paul's, is an important riding in this election because in June of last year, this riding flipped to go Conservative for the first time in decades, signaling the end of Justin Trudeau's time as Prime Minister, marking the low point for Justin Trudeau's popularity. For the Liberal Party to lose this downtown Toronto riding was really the straw that broke the camel's back. That was when Liberal MPs began to start telling caucus and start telling Justin Trudeau that your time has come. It's time to move on. And months later, of course, we've now seen that with Mark Carney taking over the Liberal leadership and putting the Liberals in a position to win this election, something that most Canadians thought was not possible just 3.5 months ago.
And Harrison, I want to I'm sorry. I was going to ask another question, but I was told from the studio that I have to go. Harrison Faulkner, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be following this story very closely, of course.
Thank you.